past year, City College has been dealing with an accreditation crisis. In March, they had to submit a report as to what they would do if the school were to close. I spoke with department chairs and members of the community to see how important these programs are and how they would feel if City College were to close.
The culinary program has been around for over 70 years. It's why we have such a strong reputation in the industry. But clearly, because we have been here for a long time, the economic value that we bring to the industry is unmeasurable in many ways. So the graduating class last semester of 42 students, every one of them is working in the industry. They're blogging, they're writing cookbooks, they're the line cook at La Folie, they're the line cook at Delfina, they are the manager at Nopalita, they are the manager at one of the pizzerias, they are the host at Quince, they're everywhere. We have a lot of very well-known graduates. Conley, the owner of Cowgill Creamery, Jeff Hannock, the owner of Nopa and Nopalita, Sam, the owner of Buy Right.
We started with 6 employees. We currently have 120 people working here at the 18th Street store. On the block, and this is like one of the things that I'm most proud of, there was less than 40 people working on this block in all the commercial storefronts, and right now there's well over 400 people working on this one single block, and to me that's like what a neighborhood business should do, right? It should be an anchor, it should be a draw, and it should create synergy amongst the other businesses that exist, and create an identity for it.
What do you think of the possibility of City College closing?
Freaks me out. When I think about what an important resource City has been, not only to me, but so many people on my staff throughout the history. And it's not just staff members that went through the culinary arts program, but people who go there to learn English. We've had so many immigrants from various cultures who have utilized City as a resource for really assimilating into society, and to getting a foundation for which they can build their lives on.
Something like 281,000 San Franciscans were not born in the United States. But a lot of them are recent immigrants, and a lot of them have been here 30 years and don't really speak English. We've counted about 136 languages of our students. A lot of our students work in healthcare, childcare, hotel and restaurant, also construction to some point. For the non-credit student, the classes are free. This is something that California, I think, should be proud of. We're the last state in the union that does not charge for non-credit instruction. There is talk of changing that right now in Sacramento.
I feel like we are blessed because we don't have to pay at all to learn English. This is our community, and different races could be successful without City College. It's very important. It's something like us. It's our key to have our kids or our communities get successful.
What do you think the effect would be on the ESL community if City College were to close?
People wouldn't be learning English anymore, or they could learn English because of the size of our program. There is no organization in San Francisco, even if they wanted to, that could take up the slack.
City is accessible, and it's equitable, and every community needs an educational foundation like that to be able to thrive.
In June, the ACCJC will respond to whether City College will be able to keep its accreditation or not. Either way, it's hard to imagine San Francisco without City College. At its Mission campus, I'm Sheree Honeycutt for Etc. Magazine and IDTV.
Thank you all for being here. This is the Veterans Forum on City College of San Francisco accreditation. There are a lot of people who have been involved in this issue on the front lines and behind the scenes for a long time, and we're going to talk to a great panel tonight. And thank you to Ellison and to Jean Morrison and to Catherine Lee from the Veterans Community Media Center for making this event possible. Again, I'm Michael Stoll. I'm Executive Director of the San Francisco Public Press. We have a newspaper and a website. We report on local public interest news. We're a nonprofit, and we are at sfpublicpress.org. We're here with alumni, students, and faculty from City College to figure out what comes next. More than 85,000 students consider City College a vital source not just for university-bound traditional students, but also older and mid-career residents seeking job skills, people with degrees who want educational enrichment, and veterans looking for transition to civilian careers. But that era could be ending, and no one knows for sure what might happen if this city educational resource were to go away. The story of City College losing its accreditation has received wall-to-wall coverage since July 3rd, when the Accrediting Commission for Community and Junior Colleges announced that it was planning to revoke the school's accreditation within 1 year. The college has worked to address the Commission's recommendations on issues of management, funding, and testing standards, among others. Now the college has until July 31st of 2014 to appeal the decision, but the teachers union and students groups and an array of community organizations have filed petitions to reverse that decision and taken to the streets to vent their frustration at the process and the result. As political issues in this fight are raised, they touch on questions of local control, social equity, educational philosophy, academic freedom, and educational development for the whole San Francisco community. Hopefully we'll have time to touch on all of those issues tonight. Again, this event is being streamed live on Ustream.tv, and if you want to visit Veterans Community Media Center online, you can go to vmcsf.org. We also had the assistance today from the Madhouse from KCSF Radio. This will be available through KCSF later on. We have some wonderful research help also from Sarah Bloomberg, a top editor at the Guardsman newspaper at City College. So tonight we have a great panel of smart people who have been involved in this from the start, and they have a great variety of perspectives. I want to start all the way to my left. Alyssa Messer is the president of the faculty union at City College, local AFT 2121. The American Federation of Teachers represents faculty and is working to respond to the ACCJC recommendations and the possibility of closure and suspension of accreditation. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. And I'm also an English teacher at the college.
Last but very much not least. And to her right is Alex Emsley. He was the editor-in-chief at the City College newspaper, The Guardsman, for more than a year. He's published articles in the San Francisco Chronicle, the Huffington Post, San Francisco Bay Guardian, New American Media, and other publications. He's written extensively about the CCSF issues. In November, he published in the San Francisco State University newspaper an article about student veterans who face unique challenges transitioning to college. Thanks for coming.
I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
And next we have Angela HART. Angela was in the Army Reserve from 1999 to 2008 and was deployed in Iraq from 2003 to 2004. She was in the 341st Military Police Company out of San Jose. She's a print and multimedia journalist covering the environment, healthcare, politics, and much more. And she's a colleague of mine at the Public Press. And she's also a graduate student at UC Berkeley, now in journalism. And she is a City College alumnus.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Next is Andre Rogers. Andre is a veteran and president of the CCSF Veterans Alliance. He also runs the Veterans Resource Center at City College. The Veterans Alliance is working to streamline attaining benefits as well as getting more benefits extended, like travel, education, and housing with no cost to veterans. So thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure to be here.
And to my left, we have Sheree Honeycutt, who needs no introduction. You've already seen her work. She studied and worked as a journalist at City College for a year. She made the video we just saw at the CCSF broadcast department. She's also worked at the Etc. magazine at City College and works with the radio station KCSF. So thank you all for being here. I also just want to note that we asked the Accrediting Commission of Community and Junior Colleges to join us here on this panel tonight, and we did not get a call back by deadline. So we'll have to do without their participation, unfortunately, and ask some of the tough questions of ourselves and the journalists who we have among us. So I'd like to start all the way on my left with Alyssa to get a kind of overview of what's going on. What exactly did the Accrediting Commission of Community and Junior Colleges decide earlier this month, and what were the stated reasons?
So after a year, actually, if we go back to 2012, in 2012 at this time, on July 3rd, the college was told that it was on a show cause accreditation status. That meant that the college had to prove why it should continue to exist under an accredited status. So that's a pretty serious threat. The college pulled together, did an incredible amount of work to meet many of those recommendations. There were thousands of hours of work put in by staff at the college, by administrators, faculty, staff, and students at the college to meet many of those recommendations. But unfortunately, what we've heard now, and just last week, is that we are not meeting the recommendations. In fact, we've slid backwards over the last year, it appears. If you see, there were 14 recommendations that we were supposed to meet. Perhaps we've met 2 of them at this point, and there are a whole bunch of new standards that the Accreditation Commission has concerns about. So we have been told now that the college will be losing its accreditation a year from now, and in July 2014. And that would mean that the 85,000 students at City College of San Francisco would be denied access to education, right? And it's not quite clear what the community would do if that happens. So there's a lot of figuring out to do and a lot of work to do to figure out how to save the college and ensure that we continue to have this vital resource.
Thanks, and I wanted to just ask you a follow-up and to maybe go into a little bit more detail about what some of those recommendations were and the work that the college did over the last year to answer those questions in a kind of compressed time frame. Some of those things were easy to solve, some of them were much less easy to solve because they just naturally take a long time to develop, such as curriculum issues and long-term financial planning. And then I want to continue on with Alex with some other follow-ups.
So actually, one of the interesting things that people who read the very extensive report from the Accrediting Commission will note is that there's no criticism of the quality of education that's offered at City College of San Francisco. There doesn't seem to be any question that students are receiving a high-quality education. That's something that doesn't seem to be in question at all. The issues are around finances, around what they call governance, around leadership, and things that are really pretty far away from the classroom and far away from the education that we're offering to our students. There are also some serious issues that they're pointing to around facilities and issues like that. So the college, the most recent report does say that we have made progress in some areas, but not enough of them, and also says we haven't had enough time. So they set up, it ends up sounding like they set up an impossible task for us, and now we're being punished for not having met that task. We can get into some more detail about that later, right. But as an overall picture.
Thank you. And Alex, so you've done reporting on this for a variety of publications. From both an inside and outside perspective, what are the key issues that you think that you've seen that are most contentious, and which of these issues, either the financial planning, the pension fund for faculty, the sprawling number of campuses which the college is now looking to reduce, which of these and the testing regime, which is another issue kind of bubbling up in the background. Which of these issues, and you don't have to pick one, but which are your top ones in terms of the ones that are hardest to resolve and most contentious?
Well, it is a difficult question to answer. I would point out that the final show cause report produced by City College and sort of turned into the ACCJC, showing cause why the college should remain accredited, was nearly 600 pages. I don't think it was quite more. But this is a year-long effort of very academic people submitting a report to very academic people for very complicated issues, and like Elisa said, there are 14 different recommendations. That said, the most contentious, I would say broadly, is the feelings that I've heard from, for instance, some of the members of City College's governing board, the Board of Trustees, who just recently have been stripped of all their power by the state. Seem to feel like that it's not really about solving financial issues. That the president of that board, John Rizzo, has an editorial in a weekly paper in San Francisco out on Wednesday, but also told me personally that the college has funded its reserves for 9 years in advance. It has a plan to be on financially stable footing. But that this is really, like you mentioned, an educational sort of philosophy fight of what should a community college be, and what function should it serve as far as preparing students for transfer to university, offering non-credit classes, economic workforce development in the city. That in itself seems to have been counted against the college, I think a little bit, in the ACC's decision to revoke accreditation. I can quote from a letter. This is from the ACCJC president, Barbara Bino, on announcing that decision. And he said, nevertheless, active protests against the direction the college is taking, expressed at governing board meetings and against the college leadership, indicate that not all constituencies are ready to follow college leadership and make needed changes in a timely manner. So the dissent itself and the college sort of struggling to redefine itself on sort of a downsized mission has, it seems to me, I would read that as counted against the college in the final evaluation.
Well, obviously there are issues of, power. Who's going to control this process? Who's going to control the college in the long term? And City College has a somewhat distinct tradition of faculty control. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and what was the issue there with the accreditors? Elisa might have a better understanding of that structure, but I can answer it just very broadly. That City College had, when I attended there from 2008 to 2011, there was a very kind of wide-ranging participatory governance structure. So faculty defined curriculum through the academic senate, and there were many different boards that sort of worked together to steer the school. I don't think anyone is saying that process was incredibly efficient or fast, but it did allow most stakeholders to participate in the way that the college went, and really the essence of what a community college does, which is educating students. But maybe Elisa can pick up from there.
No, I think that's what we've seen is in the last year we've moved from a college that really, I think we felt had our students at heart and the community at heart, and was really working tremendously hard to ensure that we retained access for a broad array of services and programs, which has been, by the way, very challenging to do after 5 years of budget cuts and losing more than $50 million, and really trying to hold together while the state was in fact losing more than half a billion community college students around the state. We were really trying to hold that together. That was done as a college, and that the faculty were behind it. The college overall was behind it, and so After the accreditation, the changes for the accreditation sanction, what we saw was a new interim leadership that came in and had a very different vision of how we should be managing our resources, who should be served, whether or not as many people should be served, and what kinds of changes to make. And that did really include a revamping led by the Accreditation Commission of how we looked at this governance structure that we have. So we have a new structure now that is underway that is very different. And one of the things that we've been told in the most recent report is that new structure is not finalized or clear enough yet, which I think everyone at the college would agree with. Most faculty are not particularly happy with that structure and are hoping to see us retain the real communication and being able to be very involved in the interests of our students. But we're in a position where there is a new administration that's really more interested in having control and making those decisions entirely on their own.
Okay, so you're referring to the new special trustee appointed by the California Community Colleges, Robert Agrella. Mm-hmm. And he now basically has the power that the Board of Trustees, the elected Board of Trustees, has had for many years. Is this a move that has precedent in other community colleges, and is there a way out of that?
Is there anybody else who I don't want to? I want to make sure we hear from our students and our alums. So has anyone else done any? I can sort of speak to that briefly, or
yeah, just briefly, and then we'll move on.
So no, one of the things that's happened just in the last week, in fact, this week, is that as part of this accreditation decision, the revoking of our accreditation in a year. The State Chancellor's Office has moved to basically depose and shove aside our democratically elected Board of Trustees. That was one of the criticisms from the accreditation agency, was that our Board of Trustees is not doing the job that they think they should be doing. I think if you talk to our Board of Trustees, they will tell you that they have done, as Alex just mentioned, everything that they have been asked to do by the special trustee and the interim chancellor in the name of accreditation, even when they haven't liked those things, in the name of trying to move this process and hold on to our accreditation. So this week, as of this week, we no longer have a Board of Trustees, a democratically elected body.
Right. Well, they now exist in an advisory capacity only, which is not...
And we're not quite sure what that means yet.
Okay.
They were. I did hear from several of the members of the Board of Trustees. It was Tuesday when there was a very large rally in San Francisco, more than 1,000 people marching from the City College's downtown campus to the local San Francisco offices of the U.S. Department of Education, basically asking if that federal agency can step in to sort of audit what the ACCJC, some of the decisions that they've made. The trustees, several of them mentioned that they were attempting to meet that night, but that they received a call from the special trustee, Agrella, telling them that they would not be allowed to meet that night.
So before we get too far into this program, I wanted to shift the conversation a little bit to the student perspective, and because we saw in the video that there is such a tight-knit integration between the community and the local economy and City College, which has at any given time 10% of the city's population enrolled. So, Angela, I wanted to know from your perspective and from the perspective of somebody who has started out at a community college, gone to a state university, and then gone to the UC system. You've been through the whole educational track of California public education. What does a city college and what does a community college mean for San Francisco residents? What kind of opportunities does it present, and why is the potential closure of City College? What does it mean, and to whom does it mean it?
So a couple things. City College is really special to me because I got home from Iraq in July of 2004, and I started that September. So it was the first thing that I knew when I got home, is that I wanted to pursue an education, and it was where I could get into. Secondly, I think that City College is really important because people like me who maybe didn't know that they wanted to go to college until later in life. I'm 30 now, and I'm still in school. People like my sisters, I have two sisters who, one of them is currently going through the City College program, one of them just transferred to CSU East Bay. City College is there for them. So it's a vital resource. I don't know where I would be. I would not have gone to college if it weren't for City. I wouldn't have gone to higher education.
And your classmates, what happened to them? Where are they now? And how many are still in school, working part-time? How many have launched careers that started in City College? What is there a typical trajectory for a student at City College?
Well, I can speak to the people that I went to school with. So I'm a journalist, and I was on the school paper at City and at SF State, and I'm pursuing a master's in journalism at Berkeley. So we're at the Guardsman. We're a very tight-knit publication. Right now, all of my friends that I can think of, except for one, I think, who's in Russia, are working for a daily newspaper. One is at the North Bay Business Journal. One is freelancing and doing stringing work for AP and the Chronicle. One of them is working at the Jakarta Globe in Jakarta, Indonesia. So it's a springboard to our careers. And as far as what I know about other people, I mean, my sister, who just transferred to CSU East Bay, she, and this is one thing I have to say about City, is their counseling program, especially with the Vet Center, where the Veterans Program is incredible. They, help me realize, what classes I need to take. I'm not good in math, so this is what else I can take. My sister, she didn't even know what she wanted to do, and they helped her and kind of narrow it down to pursue an English degree. So, in my experience, has been invaluable.
Thanks, and I thought that was a great segue to what Andre is doing.
Yes.
To my understanding, City College's Veteran Center is a unique program, and is now, has grown from like a little one-room office in the back of a building to a quite vital resource for hundreds of veterans. Do you want to describe a little bit about the work that you've done and how that's relevant to the fight for public city community college right now?
Okay. Well, the work that I do to pursue that makes sure that vets have everything that they need once they get out of the military. I make sure that they have a good place to rest their head, food to eat on a daily basis. Make sure they can get transportation to and from where they're going, whether it's a BART ticket or Muni Pass or, a ride to the VA. A lot of funding that I reach out for, majority of it come out of my pocket, and which it doesn't bother me because that's what I do. I outreach and I help others. And I have a few more resources throughout the city, like the VA hospital, a couple of programs, and Sears. It's a good relationship that I have with the community. And I've been the president there since 2011. And it just took a whole different spin from 200 vets to over 1,100 vets, 1,100 veterans. That's a big responsibility. So for the community, this would keep our guys very active, because if we lose City College, it loses accreditation, the guys would be pretty much lost. No financial stability, because this is the second highest BAH, which is basic housing allowance in the country. Which that means a lot, because this is an expensive area to live in. And Boston is number one, by the way. So if City College is gone, I really don't know what we would do. It'll be a big storm of just brains trying to figure out, should we get them to other colleges, but if they're going to pay, as much. It's just something we have to start at the educational level and work our way down to individuals, whether it's finding them a job or finding them a new school to go to.
So it seems that that City College is superficially an educational institution, but has so much more that can't really be measured on an academic basis that is integral into bringing the community together. What become of your the folks who visit the center, and how do resource centers like the Veteran Center help guide people into civilian life?
Yes, the camaraderie of many generations of veterans that come through, whether it's Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, Korean War, we got all kind of veterans. It's a place that we share a lot of information with each other to kind of stay afloat in the community. Whether it's roommating with each other or something like that. So it's vital that we fight to with each other as for the community, the veterans that's in the community, and the college, just to make sure that we don't lose it. I mean, I don't know what we'll do with all those guys. I mean, 1,100 people. Oh man, it's a lot of people.
Andre, did you talk about the fact that it's also a VA?
Oh yes. Oh, we're the a lot of colleges wants to kind of have the program that we have, because we started off as just a Veterans Resource Center. Then we have a Veterans Administration Affairs side to the building as well, which is one of the only ones in the country. There's only two now. And every college is trying to get that now. We have psychiatrists, doctors, and therapists. They all come weekly. And, once the guys get out of class, if they're frustrated or whatever, they could come talk to someone, and not just lose it. Because a lot of guys, they will lose it if they don't have the right help.
Yeah, normally you might have to go, wait on an 800 number, or go out to Fort Miley, which is out and it's out at Ocean Beach. It's not close. It's not too far, but it's not right there. So it's a really incredible thing.
This is not happening in a vacuum. So we've talked about all of these issues of the particular 14 recommendations, 2 of which the commission says has been addressed. This is happening in the context of a national recession, of cutbacks on the federal and state level, and pretty rapidly changing philosophies of educational testing. And what community colleges are for. So what are some of the main reasons that defenders of the college say are the background issues that kind of supersede the 14 recommendations?
Are you referring to what the ACCJC is saying that needs to be changed for the college, or what you've? I'm sorry.
Well, there have been all these cutbacks, hundreds of millions of dollars
Right.
on the state level. I think some of the critics of the process have said that it's kind of a moving target because essentially they're trying to create a university that can adjust to these lower this smaller footprint. How much of the conversation among the students and faculty and staff and supporters of City College are about those issues and trying to address the larger issues of public funding of community colleges? How much of it is trying to address the specific concerns of the accreditors?
Okay. Well, I think that with Prop 30, and things like that, we've really seen the community say that schools need more money. We need more assistance. City College is huge. It has multiple campuses, and it's not something that's easily run. When you take more money away from something, how do you adjust to that? How do you change? And I think it's always a difficult adjustment period, which, CCSF is definitely in. This just adds to the accreditation crisis, adds to the issue of change. I feel that with the adjustment the school is going through, it's almost like kicking them while they're down. How are they supposed to adjust when they're not given a chance to adjust? They're not given a chance to change. It's sad. I think a lot of the students feel that City College does have things that it needs to work on in terms of maybe organization, but I think everyone really is just passionate about the school and what it represents and what it brings into their lives. And so I think that the school losing its accreditation it's an awful thing that's happening, and it would be just devastating. I think that's pretty much what the student body is feeling. It's just a devastation as we're adjusting, we're changing, we're evolving. So to kind of say halfway through that evolution to where we're going, to say, well, we're just going to stop. We're going to end here. We're going to completely change, and everything's going to be different. And we don't even know what that would mean. I think it's just devastating.
I guess this gets to a larger question of what is a community college for? Is it a neighborhood resource? Is it an opportunity for workforce development? Is it a opportunity for enrichment? Is it an opportunity for cultural production? Is it describe some of the, I'll open this up to the panel and anybody who wants to take this. What are some of the debates right now about what City College should become if it were to survive, and what direction it will go, and whether it's going to become a pre-professional school or a fast track to four-year colleges and beyond? What's the direction, or what are the debates currently about that? Anyone want to take that on?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we don't really know, throwing back to what I was saying, we don't really know what's going to happen. But what I feel community colleges is I feel it's all of those things that you mentioned. Whether it's someone who just wants to get their GED, somebody who wants to take a pottery class, somebody who wants to gain more education, someone who has their doctorate and wants to learn more about something and maybe just gain a certificate. It's a number of things. And I think that the thing that City College is faced with losing its accreditation is taking that away. And I know that there are laws that are or things that are happening with Jerry Brown where he's saying that students would only be able to have 90 credits at a community college, and then they would have to start paying out-of-state tuitions. So for me, I've been in the community college system. If you count all of the credits I have over 70. So what happens if I want to come back? What happens then? I'm just out of luck? I think for everyone, community college is different, and I think that's what's so great about it, is it's such a diverse culture of people with a diverse, need. I mean, sometimes for people it's just to get out of their house and be with people. For others, they have a specific thing that they want to learn. They want to be a nurse. They want to be a chef. I think that's what's so great about community colleges, is it offers a different thing to each person in a way.
And Angela, so you've continued your education pretty far. Is that the track that everybody in your cohort took or wanted to take? What are some of the other uses for City College?
Well, first and foremost, community college meant that I could afford my education. I'm paying for my own education. I put myself through college waiting tables at restaurants here in the city. I'm still working. I'm still doing that. So without that, I wouldn't have gotten into a four-year university. I wasn't great in high school. I didn't have a great GPA. I didn't even think I was going to go to college in high school, so I didn't have that trajectory set forth for me. So coming here and learning that I could start at this community college, sharpen my interest for the future, and be able to work full time and afford college was mind blowing to me. I'm from Wisconsin. I didn't realize that was possible, and that has allowed me to move on to higher education. And regarding the question of, should everybody do that? No, everyone has their own goals. Everyone has, things that tip them this way or that. Yeah.
Andre, go ahead.
I know for the veterans that I've talked to since the accreditation issue, their main focus is it's not what the school is going to be. It's what are we going to do if it happens. As for what school are we going to go to? Because, like I say, it's a different community with these guys and girls. They come to school after returning from combat or many years after school, and it's different for them because they have many psychological issues, physical disabilities, and coming back to school with a bunch of younger kids, majority of them are younger. It's kind of tough on them, So their focus is to just hurry up and get out of City College before the accreditation issue is what they're planning to do. Which I say about 60% of them are. They will be gone. But, the 40% and the big influx of people that's going to come in spring, that doesn't know about the accreditation issues, which the downdraw troops from Afghanistan, it's going to be like, oh man, all over again. So it's a lot of work for us.
So what do you say to students who are matriculating or coming back, and they might not be able to complete their degree because the university or the college might disappear? What do you tell them? Do you tell them just stick with it and become an activist, and
yes.
or study law or lobbying or political science in order to make this happen?
Pretty much that's pretty much where we're at right now, and I'm working with a couple of different programs throughout the city to come up with a couple jobs. So we'll come up with maybe 100 jobs before the next summer for sure, maybe more. Because that's what I do. I like to outreach and get out to the community, and there's a lot of people willing to help veterans, especially during this crisis. One to be known, Eddie Ramirez. He's an awesome guy who works at the VA. He has many titles throughout the city. Oh man, amazing guy. So me and him are creating jobs and talking to the VA about, some possible positions that doesn't require degrees, only, certificates or experience. So that's what we're doing on the veteran side of the house.
So you're trying to create contingency plans for in case people don't actually get their degrees?
Yes, sir.
Alyssa, you want to say something?
So, part of this just speaks to how complicated this issue is, right? We can't cover in an hour the complexities. There are, I think our students and our alumni are the best advocates for what City College does for our community, and you've heard some of that story here tonight. And at the same time, there are realities in terms of what students are dealing with right now, thinking, am I going to stay here? What's going to happen to me in a year? Are we going to have a school? I wanted to take a minute to say, we are doing everything we can to ensure that we have a city college not just this next year, and people need to know that they can enroll and they should enroll and all the classes will count, but that we have a city college going forward for another 75 years. That's really the goal of all of the faculty at the college. The college is committed to that. I think the community is committed to that, and we need students to come and be part of making sure that happens, and part of that is enrolling. At the same time, we can't really have this conversation about what's happening at City College without asking some real questions about why this Accreditation Commission is having this impact. Because one of the big questions we should be asking is how could, for some reasons that have nothing to do with the quality of education, that part we all agree on, they are threatening to take away a college that serves 85,000 students a year. Right, and have that kind of impact.
Yeah, what is the ACCJC?
The ACCJC is the accrediting commission.
What is it?
And what are they? They are they claim to be a private organization, but they're funded by state tax dollars. They're actually funded primarily, almost entirely, by the colleges that they accredit. They get their authorization from the federal government, and we actually we had that question a year ago when we thought, wait, something's really wrong here. We have gone from having no significant problems at the school. We always had a clean bill of health in terms of accreditation. They made a couple of suggestions along the way, and then suddenly last year they were threatening to take away our college. So we actually spent about the AFT 2121, my local, and the California Federation of Teachers, we spent about 9 months doing really deep legal research and trying to figure out who are these people? Where do they get their authority? What's going on? And that process in that process, we not only found that we had significant concerns, but we found that people all over the state have real concerns, but that there's a culture of fear around talking back or asking questions about this body and the accountability of this body. We've put together a nearly 300-page complaint, which we filed in April, both with the ACCJC, and now we filed it with the Department of Education. It's now under review by the Department of Education, that demonstrates, and there are hundreds and hundreds of pages of documentation that go with this, but they demonstrate that this accrediting body has made all kinds of missteps, all kinds of conflicts of interest that are happening, significant conflicts of interest between the accrediting body and what happened at CCSF when they put us on show cause sanction, that they violate their own policies, that they violate state and federal law. And I would just invite people to go to aft2121.org or to cft.org. They can read that complaint. It's all there. All the information is there. So it shifts the focus. And it's challenging because I think we need to continue to focus on what the impact of this would be for the folks sitting here if City College had not been here. And at the same time, we do need to start to put our focus really clearly on who are these people, what are they doing, why are they doing it. And so it feels a little schizophrenic sometimes to be saying that, but that's a key to what we need to start, the kinds of questions we need to start asking.
Oh yeah, and I'm glad that we would be remiss if we were not able to mention that this complaint was filed with the Department of Education, and that was why There were thousands of people marching in the streets, well, more than 8,000, I would say, people marching in the streets of San Francisco to the Department of Education, kind of calling on them to take seriously this complaint and please respond to it. I believe the Veterans Center at City College provides a very good recent historical aspect of, or example of what the college's priorities were a few years ago, and then somewhat how that has led to the situation that City College is in now. A couple of, and you might know exactly what the year was. I'm not remembering my date. I believe it was in 2010 when City College significantly kind of expanded its Veterans Resources Center, and they did that. I remember because I was a editor or reporter at the City College Guardsman at the time, and we were covering this, and it was really administrators at the college and the Board of Trustees looking at a giant influx of population of veterans going to be coming back to San Francisco, to the Bay Area, and not having adequate resources to serve them when they showed up at City College, trying to get go to school and get an education that was guaranteed to them when they enlisted in the armed services. And so City College, in a climate of massive cuts from state funding, made a commitment to expand the resources for veterans and really create something that no one else in the country was doing with this collaboration with the VA. And then when I was covering this again in, I guess it was November, you said, I wrote about veteran services at actually two schools. I was supposed to be covering the services at San Francisco State University, but their Veteran Center was really just getting started and was emulating the one that City College had created years before. They currently now, or at that time a few months ago, were serving around up to 400 veterans in a new center that they had just created, and really looking to collaborate with City College's much more kind of developed program. So that was a decision to kind of put a student support service first, and there's services like that throughout City College that are not necessarily veterans related, but that aren't necessarily educational programs, that aren't necessarily geared toward just directly toward student transfer to a four-year school, and so they did that, and they committed funds to that, and that could be seen as being one situation that commitment could be something that the ACCJC is asking City College to narrow in order to get their financial house in order.
Well, the budget for my resource center, City College Resource Center, it's not hurting them at all. It's very small. Now it's less than $20,000. I can tell you that now. Like I said, a lot of funding is private donors. So if they're looking at, well, I hope they're not looking at the Veterans Department, because that'll be a shame on them to discount us in this accreditation. I mean, I don't know what to say to that. But yeah, we get more money from private donors than what the school budget give us, which just allow us to pay my front staff, the front desk staff, which that's the only thing it pays for, and a few printing supplies.
So I'm curious, and I know a lot of the coverage has been so moment to moment of this crisis, and the protests and the petitions and the letters back and forth, and I think sometimes we lose sight of what could happen and what are the various trajectories this crisis could take. Can some of you sketch out, I don't know who wants to take the best case scenario and who wants to take the worst case scenario, or any others in between? What's the worst that could happen here? Does anyone want to take that on and just describe it and what the ramifications would be for the city?
Well, I can speak a little bit, and then maybe somebody can take over or say a little more. But a third of City College's students are ESL students. And as you heard in my video, it's a very important resource for them. City College offers non-credit classes, which means that students don't have to pay for them. They can come as they please. They can come to one class and then not come to the other. They can show up when they want, when it works around their schedule, because a lot of them don't have the opportunity in their life to say, I'm going to take all this money and put it towards school. They take the work that they can get to provide for their families. And I think, you know, a third of the students of City College won't have that resource. So how will they assimilate? How will they learn English? It's almost like you were saying with veterans. I mean, it's the first stop. It's the first stop. I was telling Ellison over the 4th of July weekend, right after we heard about the possible loss of the accreditation in a year. I was at a party and I met this woman's husband, she's a Spanish teacher, and I met her husband, and she says, oh, my husband went to City College for 4 years. And I started talking to him, and he said, I went to City College for 4 years on non-credit ESL classes, and he went from a life of crime. He was doing drugs, but when he came to City College, it changed his life. He works now as a person in the community here in San Francisco, helping low-income families find work and find housing. And his life is totally different because of the 4 years that he spent at City College. So when you say worst-case scenario, I think of people like that. Well, where would he have gone? What would he have done?
Is it? I think the Chancellor's office has described this as a reform process instead of they're downplaying the idea that the college might actually close altogether, even though if accreditation loss did go through, millions of dollars in state and federal funding would go away. So what could this actually happen? Could all of the now, I think it's down to 12 campuses, actually close their doors and have all these students scattered to the winds? Is it going to transform into something else? Is some other community college going to try to come in and rescue it? What are the various scenarios that people are talking about, or are people not even going that far because it's a lot of it's a long ways down the road?
Well, I don't think people really want to talk about what seems to be more and more likely since July 3rd, which is that the college could actually have its accreditation revoked and not have any way to fund itself, and essentially would have to close. The college is required to, redraft a closure report that would sort of take care of some final bookkeeping in the ways of where are transcripts going to be stored for students that were, previous students who have graduated and just ones that took transferable credits while the college was still accredited. But I think despite there still being a year and there still being a review and an appeals process, the ACCJC's record with having its decisions overturned is very minimal. And so I think that is a worst case scenario, and hopefully I think that a lot of people hope that it won't be that bad, but it is a more real possibility than it ever was before July 3rd, when before that, most people that I spoke to thought that City College's efforts would be sort of recognized, and that it might not be fully removed from sanction, but that its sanction would be downgraded. I don't think anybody expected accreditation to be revoked.
Another question that we talked about today as a unit, they were wondering, are teachers thinking of leaving before?
It's a great question, Andre. I mean, I think we have already seen a lot of people leave. A lot of the employees at the college have left already. We have lost, we're losing a lot of talented and very passionate and dedicated people in our staff, in our faculty, in our administration, who the uncertainty, just as it's getting to students, has really gotten gotten to the employees at the college. And at the same time, I think there's an incredible amount of dedication and wherewithal to see this through and ensure that we work on many different fronts to ensure that this college remains open for the 85,000 students who count on it. Right, I think that's so. And I guess the other question about the worst case scenario, and the college will have to recreate a closure plan. One of the things the Accreditation Commission said was that the closure plan was insufficient. I think part of the reason that it's hard to spin out that scenario is not just because I think everybody's dedicated to seeing the college through and helping the college be successful, but it's also because there is no blueprint for this. Right? This is a college that serves an incredible amount of the community, and that is a very large college. And the idea that it would somehow be absorbed by some other college somewhere else in the Bay Area, that it would there is no scenario that addresses what the needs in San Francisco that would go unaddressed if the college did in fact close its doors. And I think that's. So it just, again, points to how complicated and how serious the situation is, but also how important it is that we save the college for the community and for San Francisco.
Angela.
Can I just ask a question? I'm curious. I'm sorry, the name of the city college in Southern California that lost its accreditation escapes me. What is it?
That's Compton Community College.
Has the teachers union been working with or talking to that district, and have you learned any lessons from?
Absolutely. I think we've learned that we can't count on the ACCJC to act responsibly or to really act on behalf of the students or the college or the community. I think that that's true. That's one of our primary concerns here. It was not the same set. It was the same commission, not the same set of issues. Not the same set of issues, but definitely the same commission. And the level of sanctions all throughout the California community college is so significant from this commission that we all have concerns about trusting that if we did X, Y, and Z, we would actually see us retain our accreditation. And that's one of the reasons that we made the decision to file this complaint, because there are so many irregularities and so much overreach in this commission that we felt that it had to be done. It absolutely had to be done if we were going to protect the college.
So aside from appeal to the federal government and working with the state on reforms, is there anything that can be done on a local level in terms of San Francisco Board of Supervisors? Are there any moves afoot to pass new local propositions? What can be done here in San Francisco?
Well, I think it's going to be a complicated and a very fine-tuned fight on many levels. Right. But there's no easy fix, because we really do have a commission that is not accountable. There's no one in California who can fire this accrediting commission. One of the things many people ask is, can't we just get a different accrediting? Can't we get accredited somewhere else, since it's not about the quality of education, since our budget is returning back to pre-recession levels? Right? We should be in a situation where this is not an issue, and yet it's gotten worse. But that's actually not something we can do while we're under sanction. We can't move to another law. The federal law says we can't move to another accreditor while we're under sanction. So this is going to be a process. I think there are things that people can do to join in that process. And I would, if I have a moment, to mention a few of those. One is just to ensure that people enroll in City College, that they tell everyone that City College is open. And one of the ways you can help save the college is to ensure that students stay and continue to get a good education here. That's a real simple way. The other thing is that I think veterans, alumni need to be telling their stories. We've set up, I know Public Press has done some great work around that over the last year. We also have a website called iamcitycollege.tumblr.com where folks can take a picture and tell their stories. But people need to learn more as well, and they can do that at aft2121.org and at the saveCCSF.org coalition. We're really getting out a lot of information about the ACCJC, about the educational reform mechanisms that are a part of this picture and a part of this fight about privatization, what's at stake, and what some of the next steps are.
And we're actually running out of time here rapidly, but we wanted to give the opportunity to some folks in the audience to chime in, cover in any of the fill in any of the gaps that we might have left in the conversation, and talk maybe about their own experiences. I know there was some conversation in the back earlier, and actually, if you just want to take this mic, pass it around so that we can get the live stream going. Should we do the mic at the other end?
Yeah, you can't really move it that much.
Okay.
My name is Bob Gorringe, and I was born in San Francisco. I'm a Vietnam vet. I was in Vietnam in '66, '67. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. And I came back and worked for a year, and then I came to City College. I'm an alumnus. Went on to State. I've been involved with the Occupy movement, and from the Occupy movement, I came to work with the Save CCSF organization. And I just wanted to kind of put a little bit more reinforcement on the panel up here and anybody down there, because we have a year of trying to get information out. I'm glad that Alyssa, brought up this suit. It's a 280-page suit that the two unions have put against the ACCJC. So we have to, instead of being on the defensive, we should be on the offensive. And the second thing, and I didn't hear any discussion tonight, but you have to go into it with a little depth, is there is a movement in this country to privatize all public education. Mm-hmm. It started with the charter schools on the elementary level, and now it's moving up. So that's another subject that people need to be informed about, because in that context, then you start to understand what's going on.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come up? Just grab the mic and maybe stand over there so you don't have to lean over. Just stand on the other side.
So I'm Lance Burton. I have had a 40-year career with City College as a student, as an instructor, as a consultant. And I want to thank Elisa. But one of the things I just wanted to find out from you guys, I mean, whatever happened to the Western Region accrediting body that integrates all the different regions of academia to be able to have a accreditation or a certification or matriculate to a 4-year school? And is there some separation between that body and the this community college, junior college body? That seems to be where the fight is.
So I would just say to start, I mean, that is such a good question, and it's a very complicated one. And if people want to know more in depth, they can look at the amended complaint that AFT 2121 and CFT filed recently at the beginning of July 1st. But so it used to be that the ACCJC was, people nationally called them WASC Junior, that it was sort of a subset of this larger Western Association of Schools and Colleges that Lance mentioning. That is no longer the case. It's no longer the case as of early June. So at the same moment that the ACCJC was voting to sanction, to take away City College of San Francisco's sanction, it took a month for them to put that information out to any of us. They were also separating themselves off from WASC and have become an independent organization. Now, this is particularly relevant to us because it means that the appeal process that the State Chancellor's Office and the City College of San Francisco has said that they're going to begin, that appeal process is a little bit more rigged than it would have been. Instead of going up to WASC, the appeal and the review and the appeal of the sanction, instead of going up to WASC where we might have gotten a little bit of an independent review, at least a little, it goes right back to ACCJC. So the same people who have unfairly sanctioned us and are revoking our accreditation are actually going to be the people who take a look and decide how they did when they made those choices. It's right. So it is. That's absolutely right.
Well, and I've heard and seen that critique many times in the press and in public statements and meetings. And I wish we'd had someone from the accreditors with us. We'll, if we have a follow-up conversation, we'll try to get them again. Anyone else want to make a statement? Come on up. Can you speak into the mic so that they can hear you on the live stream? And introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Barbara Skinner. I just have two questions. Was that last information, what you just conveyed, is that part of the complaint?
That's part of the amended complaint that we put together reflecting what has occurred. We put the first complaint in on April 30th. And since then, the ACCJC has enacted new policies, including a policy to shred documents that allows folks to shred documents so they can't track this, including separating off from WASC. They held a meeting that was supposed to be a public meeting that the public couldn't get into. Many people in the city read about that, and many of you were there. So there's an amended complaint. We put it in July 1st, and it addresses many of those more recent issues.
Thank you. I just have a suggestion. In New Jersey, when different groups wanted to raise money, for example, with various environmental issues, they proposed for instance, like a 0.25% tax on the real estate transfers, and that was able to raise a lot of money. And I wonder if something like that could be proposed. I don't know the basis of the complaint to challenge the accreditation of City College, but if it's based on purely monetary issues, perhaps something like that could be explored, considering the vast amount of real estate transfers and the vast amount of money in real estate in San Francisco. So I just offer that as a suggestion.
Does anyone want to address that?
Just to say that in November, San Francisco voters voted overwhelmingly at 73% to begin to refund the college. More than $15 million a year for the next 8 years is coming in thanks to San Francisco voters and their care for the college. And then there's additional money coming back to the state now through a tax that almost entirely taxes the rich. That was Proposition 30, which passed statewide, which was already mentioned. So the funding to the college we are the only college, I believe, in the state that should be looking at funding back at pre-recession levels, right? Because of the combination of Prop 30 monies coming back and Proposition A. And yet we're still facing this picture and we're still facing disaccreditation.
Take one or two more questions. Go ahead. Thank you. And if you can go to that side so you can see the street.
Thank you. My name is Gene Morris. I'm here with the Veterans Community Media Center. So specifically, I'm wondering, maybe in a short form, I wonder how much is privatization, disaster capitalism driving what we are suffering, what we are dealing with now with the de-accreditation of City College of San Francisco?
I mean, it's somewhat difficult to say for sure with any level of verification. All I can speak to is that I've heard it raised many times in the city. I met a person on Tuesday, in the streets at the rally for City College, who was an instructor from the City University of New York. And his message to the crowd was that San Francisco is ground zero in the fight for public education. There is a real feeling in the city and here and with constituencies at the college that City College of San Francisco is being made an example of.
Okay, I think we'll take one more question and then wrap up.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the panelists and for the Media Center for hosting this. My name is John Caldera, and I'm the past commander of Post 315 of the American Legion and an alumni of City College. The music program helped save my life, and that's something that wasn't really mentioned here. City College not only is a lifesaver, but it's a quality of life enhancer. The Disabled Union program helped people with living with HIV for many, many years. It's helped our veterans that are returning back. The LGBT Center has helped people that are dealing with questions. Some of these kids have been kicked out of their homes just coming to terms with their identity. So City College is irreplaceable to our city for those of us that live here. And I see people who go to City College reflected more in the audience than you're very young. I mean, you could all be my children. You're all beautiful young people. and thank you very much for doing what you're doing. But there's a lot of seniors that need City College, and without City College, what happens to the resources that belong to our seniors? So I'd like to leave that thought as well. And I'd like to find one final comment to our commander.
Hello, my name is LaTanya Dixon, and I'm the commander for Bob Besker, Post 315 of the American Legion. And I've never been to City College, but I did start off at a junior college, which was at Merritt in Oakland, and I have 2 masters, so good for you. No, so I hope that City College remains open, because I feel like if it does not, it just would be an awful day in San Francisco, because there are a lot of people in San Francisco as well as in other countries that come here to go to a junior college, and because either they don't have enough money to start off at the state college, or like Angela was saying, that she wasn't sure where she, what she wanted to do. So a lot of people go to the City College before they start the state college or UC, and save some money so that they can go to a 4-year college. And I've looked at, I've also been a faculty at Napa Valley College. So I commend you for being brave and courageous in doing the suit against the ACC, because that's not fair. The City College, the colleges are about the people, about the students. So I support you.
Thank you very much, and thanks to go ahead real quick.
So, because what you guys are doing in follow-up, right, if there's some way to kind of track, like they say, follow the money. In this case, I'm interested in finding out whether you can follow the interest of the parties that are involved, and that go back to the state chancellor who just retired, the folks that are now on the who was she? She was the president of Berkeley College. Her husband, some other folks that this is San Francisco. It's not Butte County. It's not Calaveras. It's not Mendocino. It's not Riverside. It's not Santa Rosa. And I think that what this gentleman was trying to do is cast a die that looked like those kinds of small 10, 15,000 student campuses on a 90,000 student campus. That's as diverse as San Francisco is. You can't do that.
30 seconds.
So I would just say we absolutely, in San Francisco, we have to be struggling for all of the communities and to ensure that we retain that access for all of the wonderful reasons that you heard here tonight for different people. We need to keep the community in our community colleges. So if people are interested or have information or have ideas, please get in touch with us at aft2121.org.
Thank you very much. And thank you to all the panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ellison, do you want to say some closing remarks? Okay.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you all of the panelists. What an awesome experience we've had here. Great information, great exchange. Let's give them a hand here. Just wonderful. And yourselves too. Thank you for contributing. Jean, come on over. Just in closing here, to thank the there were many people behind the scenes to help make this happen. This is really our first launch, and I want to pay special attention to Des and his team back there for the awesome work that they have done to get this streaming. We're actually streaming live. And and it was mentioned Catherine Lee, Howie Beck, who is not here, unfortunately, but he really was the driving force to get us connected to you all, and it was really wonderful. We're grateful. And to Sam Gold, who provided us with the technical equipment today, and to Dina Boyer, who is manning the camera there, so we can. It's really wonderful. So thank you all for being here. And Jean, any closing remark?
Well, certainly the reason why we're having this extraordinary forum is because of Ellison Horn. So I'd like you to express your appreciation.
We'll be having more of these forums. We want to hear from you. We want you to come down, be involved. This is your facility as much as anyone else's. So this is all about community. So please come on and let's do more of this. Thank you.